Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
Shadowing it. Stugotz bounced in here today, and I don't know what the reason for it is. Whether it's that it is the original crew in the shipping container. I believe this is the crew that's done more shows than any crew in the history of the show, or it's the rare Greg Cote Monday.
It's Hawaii midnight game. I mean, that's really what it is. College football, it gets underway. Dan, I shaved for it. I'm excited for it.
It's back.
It is back. Yes.
Yes, and the Florida State Seminoles somehow played 2 games in week 1.
Huh.
It's a historical anomaly.
Really?
They play the first game on the 24th. They play the last game on September 2nd, and they're both considered week 1. How about that?
The thing that makes this a Greg Cote Monday, and this is very exciting.
Greg, I hate to confuse you more, but there isn't a week 1 doubleheader.
Yeah.
It starts with week 0. What is
Correct,
happening
yes.
between
Yeah.
Georgia Tech and Florida State and Dublin is now classified by college football and its fans as week 0.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ. It used to be called week 0, and they homogenized it so that it's all called week 1 now. If you, just as an example, if you go to ESPN schedule,
He's right. I mean,
it says week 1.
Yeah.
It does not say week 0.
I understand what you're doing, but it is commonly referred to as week 0, the season before, like the real season.
Okay, the commoners refer to it as
Kind of like a shadow week.
Okay.
Shadow week.
All right. Technically, FSU plays 2 games in week 1. That kind of thing, so forth and so on.
Wait a minute, what? There's been an addition to that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So forth and so on. It's
Henceforth.
added. Why did it add an appendage from the House of Commons?
Well, it's you want to elaborate, so forth and so on. It's conjecture.
Yeah.
It leaves it to the listener to know what I mean.
I do want to commend everything that was going on, the Panthers Cup run, the Olympics, the world falling apart. This football offseason really felt short.
I just got a buoyant radiance that swept over me because Sal Pal was chatting with Mike Tomlin on my television.
oh my God, it's
I
back.
felt like I was transported to a different time. 15 years ago, that
that's-
interview could have been.
That's still week 0 coverage because week 1, Sal Pal, he's planted in front of the Eagles complex.
That's right. But this is what's warning me that we're doing the calisthenics, getting ready for football season. But the thing that I didn't know, Greg Cote's in here on a Greg Cote Monday because he's got a very busy week. And the busy week is because newspapers have, and you guys remember these from your childhood, special sections before football that are just all football.
The best.
High school football, college football, professional football. And once upon a time, you'd get, Ricky Williams to take a picture with a bulldozer and 5 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
But there's no way that those players are doing anything for newspapers anymore.
No, hell no.
So I can't even imagine what the special section cover. Those cover arts, those things would signal football season, and they'd be beautiful. They would be like magazine covers, and there's
Sprang
just
for the full color ink.
there's just no way that that's what they look like anymore.
Yeah, I have no idea. I can't speak to that, but you're right. You're not going to get the start. You're not going to get Tyreek Hill, in a helicopter.
I used to stroll into Florida Christian homeroom, get 3 of those bad boy niche edition, fully devoted to high school, college, and pro edition, and I would just sit at my desk and open up a newspaper like a 60-year-old man married to Lucio Ball.
Larry Bluestein. I mean,
No. But what Stugotz is doing is recruiting. I'm talking about the Miami Herald would
in the
win.
high school,
The Miami Herald would win awards every year because they produce. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. 7 special football sections because it wasn't just high school. It'd be all the pros. I don't even know what the 7 categories were, but they had 7 categories.
Yeah, there was. I can tell you, we don't do that anymore for budget reasons and whatever. But I think the categories used to be NFL, Dolphins, college football, high schools.
The rest of the state, I think. Didn't Florida State and Florida, didn't they do something?
I think I remember that.
That was
Yeah.
under colleges. Yeah,
Right.
I think we had 5 special sections, if I remember. And you got to write for them all. So That's why August is literally my busiest month of the year, and now I'm on call for jury duty. I'm out there doing my civic duty. I'm a patriotic American. Damn right. I want jury duty. I want to get on that jury. I want to be selected. I hope once in my life a judge recognized me and spent 5 minutes in an open court talking to me about football. I hope that doesn't happen.
The dream, huh?
Yeah, the dream.
You do hope that happens. You hope that happens.
Well, I hope it happens beforehand. I hope they just tell me no when I call today. No, you don't have to show up at 7:45 and wait in a mass of people for 4 hours to decide whether you're going to be deciding whether some guy ran a red light and barely injured somebody else.
What section called you? What branch? I hit the Triple Crown this year. I got hit by all of them.
Wow.
Civil, federal, and criminal.
Wow.
And I got selected for one of them. I didn't think it was possible.
Congratulations.
I'd always call them and tell them like I just did. They're like, no, that was the other one. So they all got me within a calendar year.
Yeah, I generally play the journalism card because when you tell them that you're a professional journalist, usually that will negate you from serving on
what
a
happened
jury.
to civic duty? Hell yeah. What happened? All of that.
You know what? If they call me, I will serve.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Because
Yes,
you have
thank
to
you.
by law.
His duty is
When
to show
called,
up.
I
You
will
have to
serve.
call them, though.
I know.
It's
but,
by
yeah.
law. You're doing something illegal if you don't. That's the barest low minimum to meet the threshold of legality.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, white girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Happy Greg Cody Monday. As a special gift, we've got a returning Billy Gill from vacation. And Billy, I feel like we really missed out because during the Olympics, we all found out more and more about your pole vaulting calamity. And it turns out I've learned since during vacation, your vacation, that there's more to that story that you have not yet told. There were parts of that story that were left out on your epic collapse in pole vaulting. I don't know how
When
it
I
took
missed
us.
the pads?
Yes, when you missed
Well, I
the
had a number of incidents. I had a number of injuries. I could regale you with pole vaulting injury stories all day if you want.
I do want. I've missed those. That it was missing from our coverage last week. We will get to Greg Cody and the Dolphins and preseason football in a second because we've got some Tua sound that I want to play for Greg Cody and ask him, the resident historian of the Miami Dolphins, if he's heard the quarterback sound quite this way. We're going to play that sound in a second. But what's the pole vaulting story I missed?
Well, I mean, the story that I told you is when I missed the pads and I hit the metal box and that I then laid down in my car embarrassed until a family member was able to get me and take me to the hospital because I couldn't drive my stick shift car because I'd destroyed my shoulder and it still clicks to this day. I guess the part I didn't tell you is that my coach feared I was paralyzed because he came running around the pads and was like, "Can you move? Can you move?" And I could, luckily, and I wasn't paralyzed.
But how is it that it took us 20 years to get the full story on your pole vaulting? Our pole vaulting
I was probably
expert?
concussed, if I'm going to be honest with you, because I banged my head into my shoulder and was very woozy in that situation. There's another time I stabbed. This is early on in my career where I stabbed myself in my leg with my cleat. So I probably shouldn't have been using metal spikes at the time, because I was just learning how to do it, and I went up, and this is before I knew form, and I stabbed myself in the leg with my spike, and then I got a gash. I had to leave the competition to then go and put stitches, but it was before I had technically lost. So then after I got the stitches, because pole vaulting's so long, I went back to the competition, and the event was still happening. And then they asked me, do you want to do your other attempts? We can have you do the attempt. And I think the rule, if I remember correctly, is since I didn't lose, I still had attempts, and I was attempting like 6 feet at the time because it was like my first year doing it, and I was like, I don't know, 5'3" or something. And they were up to like 12 feet. They're like, do you want to take your next 2 attempts at 12 feet? And I was like, no, I think I'm good. I'm going to recover from this. Then, here's this one. You guys are going to like this one. So when I was in college, Dan, I don't know why you asked for this, but you asked for it, so I'm giving it to you. When I was in college, I had a really bad ankle sprain, one that prevented me from competing and even practicing, but I have to go in and I have to do therapy nonstop every day for months. And I have to go in. I did the thing like the stim or whatever it was called, where like they put like the little stickies on your leg and they shoot like electricity through you, and that's supposed to help you. And then they ask you like, do you feel that? And I would always lie and say no, to the point that my toes were actually curling because they turned the machine all the way up. I was trying to see how much pain I could deal with. So anyways, I finally recovered from this. The coach is mad at me because there'd be days that I just go in and I do therapy. First practice attempt, when I came back in practice, I go up, and they always tell you land on your back, don't land on your feet. You could, twist an ankle, and I thought, I already twisted an ankle. I'm all taped up. I'm fine. Go up, land, twist the other ankle, laying down on the ground, missed another month. Coach was livid. Livid. I'm shocked Coach Rubin kept me on that team.
I've got a number of follow-up questions, and the answer to your question, why would you go to me on this? Because you've been off for a week, and it's a Greg Cody Monday, and it's kind of like deflating a tire when you're in the 40s and you need to get it down a little bit. I need to get all of this out at the beginning of the week.
Do you need to? I've always wondered
I don't think
that.
you do.
The
to
tire
be honest,
says you
Brad.
got to have it at 36, and it's at
Yes.
38. Do you let it out to 36? I sometimes ride with it.
I
I'm
like
you know what?
I like to overinflate.
Yeah.
I do.
I like to underinflate.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
not
Why?
advisable.
Why?
Well, I'm moving on run flat tires, so they can run on 20 pounds.
Things are
Okay.
good in the
You know,
newspaper
right.
industry.
I've run on 18 pounds.
So you're testing them out, or
Yeah, I mean
okay.
they're fine. Don't worry about that. They're
Why
run
would you
flat.
go? Why would you go lower than the
Because
average?
when you overinflate, you feel like you're running on hard tires. The ride is not as smooth. The ride is bumpier.
uneven?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I much prefer. Now you want the perfectly inflated tire, but if you're going to err, you err on an underinflated tire, in my opinion.
I disagree. At Le Batard Show, put it on the poll, Juju. At Le Batard Show, which do you prefer, overinflated tire or underinflated tire?
Got to go under.
How did your cleats cut you while you were going over the bar? You kind of scissor kicked your feet and you cut yourself. How many
so, like,
stitches?
You go up and then you go like this, and then I went like that, and I stabbed myself. I know that's good for like the visual, but like, look, see, Mike can attest. See, look, I have a little scar there.
I
Look
can
at that.
Holy
confirm.
flying.
Look at that scar. Look at this scar. Look at this big scar. on my
Battle
leg.
scars, huh?
Look at that.
You remember Lethal Weapon 3?
A big scar.
No.
Was it 2 or 3? No, I think it was 3, where he starts comparing scars with Rene Russo. I'm like a dog with a bone on this one.
Stitches, Billy? How many stitches?
On that one, oof. That one was a gory one. I think that was like 3 stitches, maybe.
And so you competed right afterward? You got back to
no.
the meet? Oh, no.
I
you
went
didn't-
back to the meet. I did not compete.
Okay. Wow.
This is when I was first starting. I was using the pink girls pole because I didn't even have a pole for how little I was. I was like 5'3", like 95 pounds.
Lethal Weapon 3.
I read the other day, correct me if this is incorrect, Mondo, the pole vaulting champion,
Yeah,
that
turncoat.
he breaks the record by a centimeter each time, even though he could go over by much more,
Genius.
because he gets a $100,000 bonus every time he breaks it by a centimeter.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
he,
guy.
That's a heady
He's
play.
he's using the pole vault as an ATM.
so he has, from what I read, and it's probably the same article as you, he has like conditions with his sponsors that he gets anywhere between like $30,000 and $100,000 every time he sets a world record. So he'll just go up 1 centimeter at a time.
Yeah, see,
good.
that's where you need me as the commissioner of all sports, including Olympics.
Hmm.
You go by 1-inch increments. You don't go by centimeters. That's ridiculous. Nobody can see the difference. If you raise the pole by
1
an
inch. One
yeah,
inch. No, people win by quarters of an inch.
in my Olympics,
You're going to get ties.
it's 1-inch increments.
Yeah, but Greg, he gets a bonus every time he breaks it.
I know, but that's a loophole that we got to close. Are you kidding me?
I mean, it has to be centimeters. I mean, it's an international competition. It needs to be in a metric system.
No, we don't do the metric system.
Here he is again. I mean, the
I'm
earlier
sorry,
in the
we
week, the more xenophobic and more stubbornly American he becomes on,
Yeah,
he
right.
gets to decide what the rules are
Thank
for the
you.
world.
1-inch increments.
Did you guys watch the jump off in the Olympics and the high jump?
No.
There were 2 high jumpers that they were tied, and they each won a share of the gold. And they decided, no, thank you. let's just keep jumping to see who wins this.
Oh, we talked about this the other day, that the U.S. would have won if they had just taken the tie there. We would have had more golds than anybody if we had just decided that. But they decided, no, they wanted to be competitive, and one of them needed to win. And then the U.S. lost.
How much do you have to hate New Zealand? How much? Like, it's a great moment. We both share the first place medal stand, but let's keep jumping. And then it affected the U.S.'s overall medal count.
I mean,
just not a good move.
If you're a competitor, do you really want to just tie?
Right.
Like, you want to win.
No one
the
wants
gold.
to share anything. Right.
I think you go to the Olympics with the hopes and dreams that you get to introduce yourself one day as an Olympic gold medalist. No one's going to check you on, hey, you're a co-Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah. At the Miami-Dade County Championship in 2005, I'll tell you this. We had the opportunity to end an attire, go to a jump-off at Tropical Park, and they didn't have lights by the pole vault pit. So the people that were organizing the event said, hey, we would not advise you to continue jumping because this is not lit. This is not safe. And you know what we said? We're jumping.
We're jumping.
Respect.
We're
jumping.
That is Miami
We're
style.
figuring this out.
Pole vaulting in the dark. No liability issues there. I want to recap with Stugotz and Chris Cody. We went out to Dolphin Camp, Greg, and it's always unusual to me the things that people get excited about around here. Chris Cody, with a lot of responsibilities now, was insistent that he go to Dolphin Camp. He wanted to do this. He was very eager to do this.
He did a great job. I mean, I must say.
And one of the people that we talked to while we were out there, we'll play most of these interviews next week, but we wanted to get you some of the Tua stuff just because I think Chris and Stugotz and I want to be careful about this because I thought the interview in general was interesting. And my takeaway, if I'm doing pop psychology in 20 minutes, I know you and Amin, Stugotz, say that he's got the contract, that's the reason that he's a more confident-sounding quarterback.
I think it's the contract and the fact that he has a coach that really believes in him.
Okay, but
yes.
I would say you don't lead the league in passing by accident or fluke. Like, you will have real confidence that you are exceptional at your job when you lead the league in passing yards, and now you've got another year in the system of improvement with the same stability. And so, yes, it can be all of those things, but when I think of going to a workplace where the people believe in me, and more to the point, I believe in me, I was surprised. I had not heard Tua say this about Flores before. So you guys tell me if I have this wrong. We've all heard about what that relationship was like, but listen to the frost thawing and a quarterback who feels differently with a team that's his. Can you explain to us, last question before we get you out, can you explain to us the difference in practical terms between having a coach who did believe in you the way that he did and the difference between that and what was happening with Flores?
Yeah. Well, to put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad, and you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. And it was, I mean, it's basically been, 2 years of training that out of not just me, but, a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year all the way till now.
We all had the same reaction to that, was to notice how awkward and uncomfortable Chris Cody was in his short shorts on the middle of that couch sitting next to Tua.
Who picked the middle for me?
Who picked shorts?
You did. You picked the middle. You picked shorts.
It was 1,000 degrees out there. I thought we were going to be outside.
Nice knees.
You look so awkward.
Wow, that is a damn shame, man.
Dan asked us the night before to clean it up. I mean,
Like, can we talk about this for a second?
Dirty Gatorade cup also on the table.
No,
and
that
sunglasses.
is-
That was mine.
Someone's doing laundry. It looks like they're just folded clothes.
that was Tua's glass. I took it. I mean,
That is the Tua smoothie. Stugotz was sipping from it the whole time, hoping that Tua would notice that his name was right on the sticker because Stugotz stole his smoothie from the fridge. Let's look at Chris Cody here for a second, though, and just drink in this particular awkwardness. I want you to know how much it costs me the night before to send two adult human beings, Chris Cody, Stugotz, hey, clean it up a little for tomorrow. Stugotz, can you shave? Can you?
I did.
And so then Stugotz asked me, what's that mean? And I'm just like, presentable. Just, can you be presentable? And then look what Chris Cody decides to dress up in.
1,000 degrees. It was outside.
We stole the Dolphin Golf Simulator. There were a bunch of players lined up outside trying to get in.
Dan told us, Chris, I love you, but the night before he did tell us we're inside air-conditioned room.
I had seen the slacks. I didn't think it was 1,000%. It was still up in the air.
Regardless, you deserve to look every bit that awkward. Cody, any theories as to the quarterback you're hearing there? I have not heard him call his previous coach a terrible person before.
No, that was strong language. And keep in mind, because of the relationship he had with Flores, that's why you had the owner, Stephen Ross, not so much in the background, but right in the quarterback's face, going after Deshaun Watson, and then going after Tom Brady to a degree that they lost the first-round draft pick for tampering. So he put up with 2 or 3 years of absolute shit down here in terms of not being respected by his own team, which I've written in a couple of different columns. And that was a good interview because you're right, you teed him up, but he didn't defer. He went all in on what you were hoping by that question.
We will play the full interview for you at the end of the show, but I will say again, I felt like I was talking to an adult. The other times I have talked to Tua, when he came out of college, unbelievably guarded, super, super careful, but also not yet formed. Like not just a year at Alabama as a college kid. You're not yet media savvy. Didn't have a lot to say. The second time he went through the battering of the concussion stuff, and again had to be guarded because of the time period he was in. This was a person who was liberated. Like, this is not a person who's going to be afraid to talk in front of cameras, measuring his every word all season.
It's a person who has the belief of his head coach. He believes in himself. His teammates believe in him, and he has the money to back it up, all that belief. And it's a guy who also has 2 kids. I mean, it's a big difference.
Yeah, 2 kids. That's another. A lot of good theories as to why he's found renewed confidence.
Yeah.
Can I throw another theory out at you? New teeth.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brand new smile. Brand new smile. That is a $1 million smile right there. Yep. On the left, new look. On the right, last season's headshot. Mm-hmm. I conclude my investigation. I've seen all I need to see.
He's an expert, Dan.
A great new smile from a great young man.
I think that's unfair. The Dolphins giving us access, and now you're reporting exclusively in this vanity correspondent lane that you've taken up. I think Barkley had fake teeth when he was on with us the last time. Those teeth look new to me.
I mean, it would be one of the first things that I do when I have that kind of income. Yeah, why not? Even if Tua had a beautiful smile last season,
he did.
It's not a bad smile, but if I can just augment it, make it perfect, I would. Tua, renewed confidence? Possibly, because of a new smile.
Also, just sitting next to me for a half hour.
That helps.
Yeah, made him feel better.
I really enjoyed how awkward it was for Dolphins to turn to their right and have your Tostitos breath right in their face. Like, that you were much too close to some of these people. They have never been interviewed by somebody whose face is that close to their face. And you always had fluffers coming out and pulling your T-shirt out for you because...
Oh, that's the move. I've been there for quite a while. You turn a corner, you tug the shirt.
I was like, the middle, huh? You want me in the middle? Fine.
How did you feel about the experience?
Like when in SNL, whenever Chris Farley had to play a child.
I got disturbed when I saw him sniffing River Craycraft out of the shower.
He moved closer.
Look at that look from Chris. He knows. He knows.
Chris, now explain to me, you never want to go out to Marlins with a great deal of zeal. Is this because this team has been handed down from your father and into your household that you care about this team more than you care about all the others?
I wouldn't say I care about this team more, but this is just this moment in Dolphins history. Like, these rosters, this year and last year, are the best rosters of my life, and I'm just super into these teams. And I know how you can kind of get awkward sometimes, so you need the levity of me to balance out the awkwardness of you sometimes.
Did you tell Tua that you wanted them to get rid of him in favor of Justin Fields?
I left that part out.
He didn't. Yeah.
I should have mentioned that part, but we were cooking with him. I'm telling you, I don't want to oversell this interview, but me and Stugotz looked at each other multiple times throughout the interview of just like, holy crap, Tua is impressive. Yep. He's saying things, so it's a good listen.
You are overselling it.
It sucked.
I don't know.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah, any subtlety. Like, if you're capable of any subtlety whatsoever.
It was just okay.
I don't like that it's just okay is where we've landed with Mike accusing the new quarterback or the quarterback of new teeth.
I think we can use language like accusation and cast it by the wayside. This is the truth. This is unmitigated truth. This is not an allegation. Those teeth are very different, and they are perfect. And he is a perfect young man. And if I were there, I would be wearing pants, and I would congratulate him on his brand new $1 million smile.
Wow. Let me say something on behalf of the Dolphins, because Greg Cote is a certified homer, all right? He has somehow found the magical space where the last couple of years he has predicted a Dolphin Super Bowl. They have not won a single playoff game, and Greg Cote still feels victorious and correct in his prediction just because they're good at offense. And because we know them to be good at offense, and everyone in Miami is lightheaded because good at offense hasn't been something that's been around here since Marino. So people are crazed about the fact that they know they're good at something offensively that everyone in the league wants to have.
I think I'm aware of the social construct that if someone fixes something that is an obvious improvement, you're not supposed to say, hey, man, that's great. But what are we really doing? Are we subscribing to the notion that magically Tua's teeth improved and got better without any help? No, I think people do this for the compliments. Therefore, I am complimenting not just the smile, but the work that went into it.
You're making an accusation.
I think this is the only show breaking down to his teeth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't want to do that. This is not where I wanted to break down the words. But again, typical superficiality of Miami. Instead of the words, it's the smile.
Guys, I'm not a Dolphin fan, but I am a fan of being able to seize on what people have done.
Greg Cote
to themselves.
Greg Cote is not a fan of seeing what people have done to themselves because the last 2 seasons have ended in epic Dolphin failure.
Yes,
but
epic.
Greg Cote feels right saying this before last season.
I mean, I could talk for the whole show about why they're a better team and why they're better than Buffalo. A couple of reasons are Tua's going to stay healthy all year. He's going to play all 17 games.
Okay, very
He's
good.
not going to miss a single game.
Okay.
Vic Fangio is the god, the lowercase g there. No offense to anybody. He's the god of defensive coordinators. Right, and they're ready to do it, man. Mike McDaniel digging in to his second season. He's familiar now. He's more comfortable.
Yep.
They're ready. They're ready. Dolphins haven't been to a Super Bowl in almost 40 years since Dan Marino's 1984. And they're ready. They're going to do it.
This
and
is
you
the
know
year.
it. And you know it, by the way.
Good.
I have to say that because what I'm saying.
Glad you said it.
What I'm saying is more than just my opinion. You can etch it in stone, bring it to a tablet, put it on your back like you're Moses, walk into a bank and deposit that tablet. Because I'm talking the truth here. I'm spitting it. Damn right. It's just coffee. It's
And you know it.
And you know it. And you know it. You know it.
Here he is. Look at him admiring his own work.
Incredible.
It's him
the
looking
echoey
into him.
damn right. A year apart.
At the same exact
Same, knowing the cadence.
I had no idea it was coming.
Yes,
that
that is how much he's in reruns, that he absolutely knows the notes of where to hit the damn right and you know it, so on and so forth.
Damn right.
But
seriously, like Tom Brady shows up on your screen for week 1 of his Fox assignment, and he's got what you could only classify as jet brown hair. Like, come on, we can Like, you're trying to get one over on us. Like, you do this for a reason.
It's just not necessary. You've been doing this since you did it to the fake teeth of Sal Pal a long time ago.
I have one fake tooth here. This one was a little small for my wedding. Got a little bit bigger of a tooth because I was insecure about my smile. Presently, my sideburns are aging more rapidly than the rest of my beard. So on the sideburns, just for men, medium brown. Also, I've had a hairline come back a little bit thanks to some Keeps and some biotin shampoo. So my cards are out on the table, folks.
Dolphins played this week. There's a game. Are we just not going to talk about Jason Sanders keeps missing field goals?
Oh, here we go.
Ouch.
You got your eye on him? Or?
One eye at the moment. One eye is on him.
We're back onto one eye?
Just one eye.
You had one eye on him all of last season and it never became a thing.
Last season he was put on notice.
Had one round of Ozempic, but that offsets the medication that made me fat in the first place. Haven't done Botox yet, considering.
Greg Cody, the thing that I wanted to say about the Dolphins, because I have seen a seismic shift in this town that I am really grateful for. Because the Miami Dolphins were the first big team, because the Miami Dolphins made Miami matter in some ways to the rest of the country back when Don Shula was running things, the Miami Dolphins have dominated with arrogance before the last 15 years this entire market. It has been an arrogant organization that came off of the winningest franchise in sports through that time. And I am so grateful to have just a totally different environment at Dolphin Camp than there has ever been. Now, I don't know what they're doing corporately in terms of sponsorships where they've been renowned to be assholes, but since Jason Jenkins got into the community and started doing things, the Dolphins have become less and less arrogant as an organization. It may have something to do with the fact that the Heat and the Panthers have kicked their ass the last 20 years. And so the Dolphins haven't mattered, but the humility that's actually come out of that facility, I'm talking about employees all over the place. I'm talking about the way that stuff sinks in when you have a culture of a Flores or a Belichick type, or you have the culture of a Shula or a Jimmy Johnson who come from a different time. That's not the way that place is being run right now.
Presently sucking in my stomach and also wearing stickers on my nipples to appear less fat in this shirt. Don't believe me? I'll show you.
Wow.
Wow. No, you're right about that. And Nick Saban was down here for a couple of years as well to fit that previous superiority thing. I haven't noticed a direct change. I deal with them sort of on a daily, weekly basis during football. They treat me the same, but I don't disagree with you. There was a franchise arrogance for years, but when the Heat start winning championships, and the last 5 years the Panthers have been great, it changes you. And here they are. We're praising the Dolphins, but they're in the midst of a 23-year NFL worst playoff victory drought, which hasn't ended yet. And until they end that, they're far from where they want to be.
2-0 in the preseason, though.
Doesn't Stephen Ross and Mike McDaniel deserve some credit for that, for what you're feeling coming out of Dolphins camp? Because they do this poll every offseason, and players are saying that's the best place to work in the NFL. That's the best environment to work in the NFL. And Mike McDaniel, man, that guy is electric. Like, he brings energy every single day.
Stephen Ross has been a terrible owner for 20 years.
Yeah.
I think he's been a good
results-wise.
Results-wise, yeah.
Results-wise.
You're
That's
right.
That's the standard. No, but the fan doesn't care whether the guys have air conditioning that's nice in the locker room. The standard's results, and he's been terrible as an owner in terms of results.
Wow, hard disagree. Hard disagree.
How can you disagree? Did you not hear what he just said? In a league parity salary cap, they have no playoff victories in 23 years. By definition, that's the worst.
I would say that comparatively to some of the other owners, I mean, we're comparing them to the Robbies. They had some success.
The
Huizenga
Robbies
never
went
won.
bankrupt building that stadium so that football could live here.
Okay, well, I think he's done a lot for the stadium, the entire venue, and I think that his biggest missteps were always trying to improve the team. He got some stuff wrong. I think he's on the right track. It's irrefutable. He's got a great-looking quarterback. He's got a great head coach. He's got a great stadium that he's presently in. He made some missteps in trying to acquire the greatest quarterback of all time. I think calling him a terrible owner is harsh. That's where I draw the line.
I'm just basing it on results.
On results,
Right.
Dan is right. You can't question.
Right. The 23-year playoff victory drought is largely on Stephen Ross. I agree with what you said about the facility improvement. He has turned Hard Rock Stadium into a mecca of sports with F1.
Okay, but you
with
guys are
professional
sitting here
tennis.
giving him a standing ovation for being great as a businessman,
Sit and give a standing ovation.
which he is. We covered this last week. Thank you, Billy. Old Bones Roy, still caring about the things that the old people care about when they gather around on Sunday morning and watch the CBS Sunday Morning Magazine.
Great show.
Roy just
good.
informed me that we have lost Phil Donahue
Ooh.
at the age of 88 years old. I almost think of him as the original daytime talk show host. Was there anyone before him? A daytime, when television in the daytime became a thing and you needed daily guests to fill out a show? Was there somebody who did that before in America than Phil Donahue did, where they have all the big guests, all the important guests before the proliferation of television all over the place?
I mean, this show started in 1969, so it would be hard to find anybody who really started that. I mean, he's pioneering.
Yeah, I don't think there was anyone before him, but I've been, what are you squinting your face at, Billy?
The first person to do everything all of a sudden is a pioneer. It's a bit much.
That's how pioneers work.
Yeah, but I feel like the first person to do it gets credit for being so great just because they're the first. I mean, it's better people come after the first.
I
You know what
mean,
it's called improvement.
Oftentimes, the people that do it first don't get the credit. But was Morton Downey Jr. ahead of?
No, that was well after. That,
Yeah.
he Corson did.
Yeah, Iron Man. He used to. I believe it was his dad.
Yeah.
Isn't he now like another comic book guy too?
How about Dick
Yes.
Cavett? Wasn't Dick Cavett the original?
He
I
was
think
at
he
night,
was.
though.
Well, he was at night.
Yeah,
he was
daytime.
at
Yeah,
Different
yeah,
thing.
I guess.
Right, yeah. But Phil Donahue was great. He also had wonderful teeth, to Mike's point.
Real or
Donahue
fake?
had a set in his mouth, I'll tell you that.
That was before fake teeth. I think fake teeth is a relatively recent
Well,
phenomenon.
no, George
George
Washington.
Washington had
yeah,
wood teeth.
exactly.
Right.
Thank you,
Would.
Mike.
They would, yeah.
That's a misnomer. George Washington never had wooden teeth.
Oh, really?
It is
Never
not a
had
misnomer.
wood teeth.
No, he definitely did. I saw a documentary on George Washington just the other day because I'm in that phase of my life.
Early onset Republican.
Yeah, early onset Republican, watching World War II docs and learning about our American Revolution. That's where I'm at.
Okay, they're pulling the wool
EOR.
over your eyes, just like you still think there's a week zero in college football. Not happening. G. Washington never had wood teeth.
What can you give us in the way of facts here? What are you telling?
Okay,
You're telling. We need to get this right.
He's like a dog with a bone.
Okay, need to get this one right.
I do. Look, as soon as I was saying what I was saying about fake teeth, I could feel Billy rising up with our founding fathers chattering away with their wooden teeth.
It says legend has it. Whenever it says legend has it,
Yeah,
it
bad
usually
start.
isn't right.
Okay.
Let me read something real quick. Legend has it that Washington had wooden teeth, but the museum's historians state that's not true. The appearance of his dentures may have looked wooden, particularly after they had been stained, but wood was not used in constructing any of his dental fittings.
Wow.
I see
People
the
had
boy.
bad teeth back then.
He had really bad teeth.
No, people had
Yeah.
terrible hygiene and terrible teeth back in that day.
Why do you think that was?
I need to correct myself. Well, when did toothpaste get invented?
That's a great question.
And
Great
mouthwash.
question. After George,
Not a
that's for
founding
sure.
father,
Yeah.
but are you going to watch a documentary that shines a light on how Abraham Lincoln was gay?
When was the toothbrush invented? When was toothpaste invented?
Specifically spotlights 4 of his lovers.
And flossing.
Medicine seemed to be kind of crazy back in the day. Like anyone could be a doctor, right? It's just like, oh, I have my arms falling off. Like, here's a shot of whiskey. That'll take care of
yeah.
it. That'll do you. And it's like, what? No.
The practice of bloodletting, in theory, I get what they were going for.
Didn't they just cure things with cocaine at a certain time?
Leeches,
yes,
leeches
That's
before
crazy.
that.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it still
1820,
works.
1824 on toothpaste.
I'm seeing 1780 for the first mass-produced toothbrush.
Okay.
Well, why
thank
did they
you.
make a brush with no paste?
The brush before
What'd
the
you
paste,
do?
huh?
Maybe they used water at the beginning.
So soap or
I've done
maybe
that. I use
maybe
water.
whiskey.
Fart before the
It
horse.
took them 4 years before they realized this needs to taste a little better. Old George is trying to clean his teeth there. He's got terrible breath while he's signing the Declaration of Independence.
So smelly. Must have been so bad.
Right? It had to be terrible. But
People thought that they died of like natural causes. People just didn't want to live anymore with how much everybody smelled.
Just think about like oral sex.
okay, why did we do that?
Well, that's where the mind goes.
That's not where everyone's mind goes. That's not where
Speak for yourself.
necessarily anyone's mind goes.
Cunnilingus.
I need to make a
Fellatio.
correction.
We were
Okay?
talking about Phil Donahue, by the way.
Yes, I need to make
And
a
Lincoln's
correction.
gay lovers.
Yeah, by the way, Lincoln used to store important documents in his stovepipe hat. I just read that.
Really?
Yeah, the Gettysburg Address was written in a piece of paper that was in his hat. He used to carry important government documents in his hat. I found that interesting.
Was there a compartment or just sat on his head?
Just sat right on his head.
No, there's got to be a
No,
compartment.
sat right on his
No,
head.
As the legend has
he
it.
didn't have a bunch of important classified documents on atop his hat.
That's
That's
a
not
fact,
true.
Jack.
No,
It's a different time,
It's not
Dan.
a fact,
Different
Jack.
time.
Yes,
People
it
didn't
is.
put out.
It's not a fact of any kind.
Look it
No,
up.
I believe he had compartments in his hat. He wasn't just. You can't keep the papers on the top of a top hat. They'd fly off.
No, on the top of his head, covered by the top hat.
Yeah.
Who has compartments in their hat? There's no such thing as hat
Cam Newton
compartments.
for sure.
Kind of the way you made
no
it
doubt.
seem.
Cam's a good answer. Donahue was good at sex, right?
Yeah.
We
I
agree?
always got him.
We all agree.
No, don't go sit in the penalty
Married
box.
to
Where the
Whoa!
mind goes, Dan. It's where the mind goes.
It's not
He
where
also
the
looked
mind
like
goes.
Leslie Nielsen in
I
a
mean, that's, I was trying to bring it
disguise.
back to Donahue. I mean,
We've got a major penalty, 5 minutes, derailing.
It's got to be Dr. Doom, Billy.
The thing that I was trying to say, because of course, yes, there were fake teeth in the 1770s, and also dentures are fake teeth as well.
Phil Donahue was also in the Naked Gun sequel, by the way, and Leslie Nielsen kind of intimidated him while going into an awards show.
So other people,
That's reference to what Mike was saying.
other people connected those dots.
The teeth I'm talking about is the Sal Pal version. I think that's a recent phenomenon to get just veneers. I don't know how long.
Yeah, I would make an accusation there, but I know he doesn't like you, so I don't want to get it back to him.
I have an important update here, and this is from AbrahamLincolnOnline.org. For many years, Lincoln used his hat as a mini briefcase, stashing letters and documents in the lining, not in a special compartment, but in the lining.
Greg,
That's a compartment.
I ask you this. Why would he be hiding letters? What is he hiding in those letters?
Okay.
Wait to see.
I don't think we should be outing Abraham Lincoln.
We
Imagine
didn't.
if that
Dude,
one
this
day
is-
at the play you had a bunch of letters in there.
It's
Things could have changed.
It's common knowledge that Abraham Lincoln
I don't think
had
it's
male
common
partners.
knowledge.
So
I
what?
don't
What's wrong
believe-
with that?
No,
I'm not saying that.
no, I'm not saying
Why
anything's
you guys
wrong
say
with it,
there's a
but like, why are
problem
we
with that?
ignoring it? He wasn't exactly
It's not-
covert
it's-
with his
but
operations.
It's just not necessary. I don't care what anybody.
Well, a documentarian disagrees.
Who cares what anybody?
What, you had America's,
sexuality is?
apparently first gay president. That's worth talking about.
Yeah,
Is
right.
it? You think it's important that we tackle it today? Do you? You think more important than when it is that the toothbrush was originated?
Dan, I'm not sure exactly how we got here, but in a roundabout way, I'm almost certain it's your fault.
I don't believe that this is my fault. Roy told me about Phil Donahue.
Wait, it's not my fault.
You've been the one making all sorts of accusations all show long about the fake teeth of people. What is the most vain thing Greg Cote does? Because Mike Ryan is now out here with all of his sensitivities. He has put in front of America, the internet can be cruel, all of the ways that he tries to care for himself. I have found you over the course of our lifetime to be someone who does not care for his body parts very much. That's why your feet look the way they do.
I used to be a foot model. I keep saying that. Nobody believes me.
Because it's not true
There's
in any
evidence
way.
of it.
Ooh,
I'm a man who is known to occasionally dye his hair. I will admit that. And just now in the makeup room, we had a little touch-up, little of that, little of the other. So that's vanity.
It's helping you. You look younger.
That's vanity. I'm getting younger. I'm like Benjamin Button. I'm 18 years old.
Wow.
In the makeup room, over over
Benjamin
there.
Biden.
Wow over there was goading him on the subject of drones.
Not
I don't
goading,
know.
just casual convo.
No, you were This is what you do. You are someone who fans a bonfire flame.
No,
like you
false.
come over when the embers are dying out and you make it roar. What were you guys talking about as it related to drones?
Well, I just asked Greg a simple question about drones because I saw over the last week that FAU had released photos that they have drones now, and I don't know if it's to celebrate touchdowns or what have you during the football season. But Florida Atlantic has drones, and they had different formations of the drones. They have their owl. They have a different Florida State kind of shaped logo thing. So I was just curious, as a proud owl on the prowl at Greg, is what he thought about drones. We didn't get to the FAU of it because I just started with how do you feel about drones, and I got lots of feelings about drones.
Yeah, I'm an opinionated man, and I don't like drones. I'm anti-drone. Whenever I see a drone in the sky, I wish I had a shotgun. I'd be like a skeet shooter.
Well,
I'd shoot it right out of the air. Quite frankly,
you can do that.
Why?
I'm anti-drone. I think it's I think they're spies. I think it's an invasion of privacy. God knows what they're doing.
They were just making the formation of an owl.
Yeah. No, that's come on.
Pretty clear what they're doing, actually.
Well, but here's the
That's
thing
not a
about
bad-looking owl.
No, it's a good logo. Here's the thing, though, Greg, and I don't know how you feel about this. There's lots of things about drones that bother people. Greg wants to shoot them out of the sky. He was telling me, maybe we'll get to later, that drones are going to replace Ubers, and there's going to be taxis that are driving people around. And he said very soon.
Very close to that.
But I'd say here's my issue with these drones, and I don't know how you feel about this. Greg, we were just talking about one of our founding fathers, and what's more American than just blowing stuff up in the sky in fireworks? And these drones are now coming to replace fireworks. There's some shows on 4th of July where you don't even have fireworks anymore. It's drone shows.
Right. Yeah, you don't need fireworks anymore. Everything, when this started, when there were holograms, when there were tours by deceased artists using holograms, and that's
laser
not
light
real.
shows.
Yeah, laser light shows.
This is
We're
not
talking
where
about the
this
Tupac
started.
thing at Coachella.
Let's see
Yeah,
where this
AI.
You're
Is,
just doing a catch-all right now of a lot of technically
hold on.
advanced phrases
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
words.
Connect
That's
the dots
exactly
here.
right.
Yeah.
Greg Cody is vigilantly anti more information, anti-learning. His new Back in My Day book, you can get it on pre-order now. He longs for a different time. He is kind of against technology of all sorts. The idea, though, that the drone bothers you this much strikes me as unusual. Invasion of privacy because you often have them hovering outside of your home looking in on you?
Well, my neighbor happens to be a droner, and so he's out there with his little thing like this and the drones flying. What is the point?
It seems like fun.
Does
You video, you get new aspects.
Fly it over your own house, though.
Yeah.
Did you not see the
seriously,
drone
leave me
footage
alone.
of the Panthers Cup victory? You get really sweeping, impressive visuals with these things. Also, laying out all the cards. I recently did something called baby foot, which is essentially a delayed chemical peel for your foot. Apparently, in 4 to 7 days, all the dead skin from my foot will magically fall off, and my foot will resemble that of a baby's.
If you take probiotics and antibiotics, do they offset?
You can never be too sure.
Right. When you have small feet like a baby, will it be difficult to walk?
It's a great
Just curious.
question.
You're talking about baby feet on
Right.
an adult.
Yeah,
Yes.
he just
yeah.
said.
I'm talking about the size. I
It
was
throw off
talking
the
about
balance.
the
Oh,
smoothness.
I misunderstood.
Yes.
Okay, because
confusing.
you're a big man
Yes.
walking on baby feet.
No, that visual would be very funny and jarring.
Thank you.
And hard to do. You're right. Yes.
Exactly. Save on shoes, though.
Vigorous swig? You feel like
You
that?
think I should take
well,
a
it just
bit
seems
better?
like
It looked like it was
It
warming up.
I mean,
It did look like you were tuning up the
it
band.
seems like
Take one.
you were
Yeah.
feeling pretty good about yourself for the baby feet.
Great.
You know, one thing that we didn't discuss about drones, aside from the taxis and how we were saying back there that we're worried about, if drones do replace Ubers, who's going to enforce it? Because as it is, people are crashing into each other on the earth, and there's lines painted on the ground that you have to follow. What's going to happen if you're in this lawless society where people are just flying around at any height, crashing into each other, and coming crashing down to earth? What are we going to do? One thing that we didn't discuss, though, Greg, is because of drones, I don't really think that there's aliens. I just assume that every UFO is a drone. You know what I mean?
That's not a bad theory. And I can't disagree with that, really. I don't see
Well, you
the
can.
need, I don't see the
There's a
need
snake
for
in it?
drones.
Is there a snake in the middle of that?
I was deflating the tire. I was deflating because he's engaged. He's engaged Greg here, and it's not normally on Monday. It's Tuesday. It's not normally when he comes
Right.
back from vacation. So you can hear that he's got a bit of sprawl to him in general.
Yeah. And by the way, on this air, I'm the one who first plumbed Billy for information about his pole vaulting career, and at the time, you made fun of me. You're like, what are you doing? Who cares about Billy's pole vaulting? I thought it was a gold mine, and it continues to be, because this is the only college athlete among us, I think. I didn't play sports in college, not counting my career as the backup goalkeeper on a club team.
Stugotz was a college athlete.
I played lacrosse. I mean,
that's true. In fact,
Celebrated.
very accomplished lacrosse.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
He was good in his
You
day.
continue to be a top 10 scorer.
Yes, at
no,
Clark,
no,
at
no,
Clark
he's
University.
not.
No, I am. I hold
Yeah.
several
We
records.
checked this out 8 years
We
ago.
did
You didn't
already.
magically
No.
get more goals.
No, I saw it. I saw it in the record.
Check
book.
it out right now.
You
I
were so
guarantee
prolific that they switched you to goalie.
We already did this.
We've done this
your
show
team
like
was
10
1 in
years ago.
15.
He did
I know, but that was 5
selflessly.
years ago, and 5 years later, I'm still in the top 10 in
more
many
records
categories.
will get
right.
broken.
And someone had to play
10.
goalie. I do what I have to do for the team. I mean, that's it. Our goalie was hurt.
I will give you credit
Thank
there.
you.
I'll say I was also the first one to plumb Greg on his opinions on drones.
Thank you.
Getting back to that, thank you, Billy.
Loving it.
You guys now have, just to be clear, like the Jetsons and like the movie The Fifth Element, you guys have drone cars flying all over space age, no longer on highways soon, which is something that they've thought about in the cartoons since the 1970s.
Yeah, George
that,
Jetson.
that has not yet arrived
60s.
here.
Yeah, 60s.
Yep.
I remember watching George Jetson. I was enchanted by the idea that somebody could fly in their own private little individual plane, and now that's coming to fruition.
But it's not, though.
It very
Soon.
soon. That's
Yes,
going to happen.
soon.
You
Right
can
around
look
the
that
corner.
up. I'm not lying.
What do you mean,
blink
look
and
it
it's
up?
here.
You know, Maxwell Smart used a shoe phone,
Yep.
which foretold the iPhone, the
Yeah.
personal phone.
Correct.
I know it's passé to admit how much you like oral sex, but to all the ladies in the 1800s, I would.
All right, enough of that, because I don't know why it is that you continue to do this. Greg Cote
Donahue?
had an exclusive interview with Mario Cristobal. And for those of you interested in college football, it really is hugely fascinating to see how the business of it has gotten so brazen and crass that Cristobal can say, yep, this is the team now, stronger and bigger and better than any I've had because I'm a great recruiter. And that it can be as brazen as I've pretty much got 3 years to do this now, 10-year contract or not. This is the team that he is telling us is what he built at Oregon. That he's telling us that I've now had 3 years and that the overhaul was complete and he's using utter and complete rebuild. We've just endured what Mario Cristobal would have us believe are the worst 2 years of the Cristobal tenure because he had to fix everything.
Yes, that's exactly what he wants to get across. You know, you can argue whether he's just covering his own ass, but I sort of believe him, and he is a great recruiter, and he's been great with the portal. You can argue he isn't a great sideline coach, a great game day coach.
I would argue that.
Okay, and you could with justification. But he has had 3 straight top 10 recruiting classes, including the 25 class, which is also top 10 at the moment. And he just got Cam Ward from the portal, who a lot of people consider to be the prize of transfers. So I think he's done that right. I think he has a foundation now. I think he has layers of talent in a way that he didn't before. I think the construction of the roster looks great in terms of, you know, traditional recruits, portal, seniors, youthful players. I think he's set himself up. He did win a Rose Bowl at Oregon, and now the pressure's on him because with the increased 12-team playoff, I think it's legitimate to think that he might be in the mix for the playoffs.
Well, what a monster first game. And I know Mike's been saying that for the business of it, it's the biggest one in program history. But Stugotz, if you've been following college football, Florida and Miami are in the same position. This is an enormous game for where the program's been and what it's failed to be the last 15 years, because Florida's got similar expectations when you go back to Spurrier times.
And Billy Napier is under the same kind of microscope that Mario Cristobal is down here with Miami.
But the recruiting classes aren't as good there. Like
no, Miami's has been better. Like I'm happy that Mario is saying this is the year where I need to start winning.
Yes.
And Greg is also saying that as well, because it is, Dan. We're 3 years into this thing. He's recruited well, and he needs to start winning. But Billy Napier needs to start winning too.
That's why
it's such an intriguing.
That's why
great
it's a
game.
monster, because
Yeah.
FSU passed them. FSU passed them both last year, turned it around quickly when we all thought Norvell was going to be out of there. Like, it looked like he was done there. It looked like he was on the thinnest of ice, and he survived it. But the new model now, Mike, and the business of this is, I know Miami has to play this out with Cristobal because they can't afford 7-year buyouts. That's not the program they are. That's not the NIL deal that they have. But 3 years in, it's surprising to see everything get fast-forwarded that fast in college football. That's not even a cycle of 4 years of recruits.
Yeah, but I also don't think that's not a new school development. As long as I can remember, you got a new coach in, you can't really make a call on him until year 3. Now, the new thing in college football is if you have a bad year 1, you're going to have plenty of message boards and plenty of people on important platforms maybe calling for your firing because, especially in the modern day, you can change things so quickly with the transfer portal. You mentioned Mike Norvell. There's a great case there on how the transfer portal can change your fortunes quickly. But this would be the first time in program history that they would have back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes. It's the type of team that he wanted to build along the trenches, and that's how he got his results in Oregon. I think he showed you proof of concept, much like the transfer portal. You don't have questions that much about Cam Ward because you saw him do it. It gets held against him, and I understand it because, yeah, he showed you last year. Game day coaches in a close game, he might lose you one. And that is a sin that is almost insurmountable, what happened in that Georgia game. You cannot look past it.
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. But there are a lot of good coaches that have won national championships that those questions have been asked of. Ed Orgeron won a title. Les Miles won a title. Recruiting-based coaches sometimes take a while, and the hope is that Mario Cristobal is indeed that guy. But I think if you do have one major concern about this season, it's not a personnel grouping, it's the coaching staff.
I mean, for what it's worth, Cristobal thinks he finally has the coaching staff that he loves, that he trusts.
What's he going to say, though?
Well, that's fair.
He hired him.
Well, I think he's not going to say anything if he doesn't believe.
But it's not just words in that he hasn't been here for very long, but usually there's turnover if he's unhappy with a coach. There's cohesion now across the coordinators. Second straight year in both their coordinators' programs. He is happy with the coordinators.
I want to celebrate just Greg Cote cornering Cristobal and getting 4 private minutes.
No, we had 20, a little over 20.
Did you do the coach in his office column overlooking the field, or how did you do? Which column did you do there? 20 minutes in a corner in a meeting room. Where did you put it all together?
Actually, with my podcast in mind, we actually did it by Zoom because I wanted the audio, I wanted the visual, and I'm not smart enough to do all that by myself and selfies and what am I doing? So we did a it was fine with Mario. I told him I'll come down there and sit in your office if you'd prefer it, and he said no, Zoom's fine.
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
a very happy 4-year anniversary to this.
Castellanos to lead things off. Jim Day's going to be taking us the rest of the way through this game as Holland takes over on the mound. I made a comment earlier tonight that I guess went out over the air that I am deeply ashamed of. If I have hurt anyone out there, I can't tell you how much I say from the bottom of my heart. I'm so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again. I don't know if it's going to be for the Reds. I don't know if it's going to be for my bosses at Fox. I'm going to apologize for the people who signed my paycheck, for the Reds, for Fox Sports Ohio, for the people I work with, for anybody that I've offended here tonight. I can't begin to tell you how deeply sorry I am. That is not who I am, and never has been. And I'd like to think maybe I could have some people that could back that up. I am very, very sorry, and I beg for your forgiveness. Jim Day will take you the rest of the way home.
I know that we're not allowed to have a sense of humor about these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
That is better as a dismount than Michael Jordan hitting the shot over Byron Russell as the end of a career. Now, I know Brennaman's coming back just like Michael did.
CW.
But that would have been a great dismount if we could just laugh for eternity on the dumb things that human beings do because they're human. I will now. Nick Castellanos is a very good baseball player. He's got at least a couple, he's got a couple of big seasons. He's got at least 130 home run season. This is what I will remember him for. And I think that goes for everybody listening to this as well. Nick Castellanos is, I don't know, he's in his 30s, so he's had a 10-year career that's bounced around a little bit, Detroit and Cincinnati, and now he's in Philadelphia and he's got a big contract. But I won't associate him with anything else. Like, this is the fact that he interrupts moments with home runs, historic moments. He bounces outside of baseball because of the comedy of that specific time during the pandemic when we were all looking to laugh. Everybody needed a little bit of a laugh. That is a totally empty pandemic ballpark. He is making that apology at the end of his career in a hollow, in a dugout, echoey barn of a stadium that there are only concession workers in, and they're not needed because nobody's there to buy food except like the players and a couple of people. There's nobody in that ballpark.
It would be weird to have concession workers if no one's at the ballpark.
That would be weird.
So it wasn't even
Ice
that.
cold beer. Here.
Cracker Jack.
So who was in the stadium? There was nobody in the ballpark except people to get food for the broadcasters?
Maybe like some security posted outside, but the concession workers are there to serve the people, and if there's no people...
Fair enough.
What's the point?
Cracker Jack. Popcorn.
I found out this weekend, you mentioned Nick Castellanos, so he's been in the major leagues for 12 years now. I was watching a game, and I just looked it up. Under 10%, and I heard it was like close to 6% of baseball players play 10 years in major leagues. Only 6%. Like, that's crazy. Because Emilio Bonifacio has been in Major League Baseball for like 14. And I wouldn't say he's in the top 6% of baseball players ever.
He made it seem like he's still in Major League
Baseball. He might be.
He was for that one day, though. I mean, had a day.
He is not in the big leagues still. One of the great marvels of my life is that Emilio Bonifacio was able to play more than a decade in the league. You think it's surprising that only 6% of players would have a 10-year run through baseball? Because I would imagine it's pretty damn hard to be able to keep 21-year-olds off of you once you get into your 30s.
That's surprising to me. I mean, it's not a violent sport. I would imagine more guys lasted longer in baseball. I figured they would.
You always have that guy that's just on a team always. And it's just because, like, baseball's lazy. And it's like, oh, we need someone on the bench. Who do we get? Oh, Billy Butler's out there. Let's sign him. You know what I mean? Like, just yesterday, it came out. Johnny Cueto was called up again for the Angels. Johnny Cueto was called up in the year of our Lord 2024 to play for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. The last time we saw Johnny Cueto, he was a disaster for the Marlins. And sure enough, someone signed him to a minor league deal, and then you need a spot start or whatever. Who do we call up? Johnny Cueto's there. Let's bring him up.
The other thing about this is front offices like to screw around with service time. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of longevity in that.
Well, I would also just think that the averages are brought down because the last 12 guys on your roster, none of them play 10 years. Like
Cup of coffee guys.
I mean, just you got a bunch of averages that are skewed by the majority of your rosters not playing 10 years.
We have to close the loop on the Stugotz athletic achievement front.
What happened?
Because we dug deep, and at first we were a little like curious as to why there hadn't really seemed to be an update since the 2020s, but that just means Clark has fallen on some hard times apparently. But Stugotz, kudos to you.
Thank you.
For points in a season, your 1992 season is still ranking top 10.
Tied for fourth.
Thank you.
58 points.
Yep.
He had a 92.
Stugotz was right. Holy Stugotz was right.
Goals in a season, you are sitting at 8th presently.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yep.
Now, how is it that we have over time crippled him here, right? Because he said he played against Method Man, and Method Man's school wiped the floor with you guys.
That was high school. He said he kicked my ass. I mean, he did, but we won the game, and we won by a lot. The problem with my college career is the individual stats are great. The team stats, horrific. We won like 5 games in 4 years there. I mean, but I got mine. That's all that matters.
But, wait, hold on. Winning 5 games in a season wouldn't impact your career goals.
5 games in 4 seasons.
Yeah, but you're saying that the reason your stats aren't better is because your team was horrific.
I mean,
your individual stats could have still been living on.
Well, if he's got bad teammates, his points would be affected by that.
Yes, correct.
Are you in the Clark Hall of Fame or no?
I should be. I'm not.
You should be.
Yes.
Let's get that. Let's make that happen.
They haven't asked me yet.
Damn right they will.
That and a commencement speech. I mean,
you should do that.
I'm deserving of one. It's Clark University.
Yeah, you need one.
Jesus Christ.
You're the king of Clark. Best Clark since Caitlin.
You can't be trusted to write a speech
What do you mean?
and adhere to necessary guidelines. And Taylor would do it.
Yeah.
He would. Yeah.
But they don't want to hear from Taylor.
You're just nodding your head. Yeah, I absolutely wouldn't write my own commencement
I'd put my
speech.
own spin on it and make it funny. I mean, I would.
Yeah, no, kind of like how Trump goes. I actually think it's a lot more than 100%. It's a number that is better and greater than 100%.
I honestly don't want to give the commencement speech, but I should be a Clark University Hall of Famer. It's not like we're churning out athletes in Worcester, Massachusetts. We're not.
Can we commend Greg for saying the greatest Clark since Caitlin when I thought he was going Kent?
I thought he was gonna go Lewis End.
Well, I'm modernizing the reference. You know, I'm all about today.
You're not all about today, but you are all about yourself. And earlier you were talking about your podcast and the double dipping you did so that people would hear your exclusive Mario Cristobal interview on the Greg Cote Show featuring Greg Cote.
He's also writing a book that is coming out shortly that you can pre-order that is so about not being for today.
Yeah. Yeah, but the back of my day thing, see, people mistake it that I'm anti-technology. I'm not anti-technology. What I am is pro-nostalgia. Okay? I hate the idea.
You asked for an iPhone with a button on it.
You hate drones.
It's a good spin. Hear him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I also hate the idea that my granddaughter, who's 6.5 years old, will grow up never having loose change in her pocket, never knowing what a wall phone is, never hearing a typewriter clack. These are things that we need to keep in the mainstream, keep in the memory, and appreciate. And that's what back in my day is all about. Now, my Mario Cristobal interview is not in the current episode of the Greg Cote Show that dropped today. We talked to Field Yates, the ESPN fantasy football expert who gives you intel to help you win your fantasy league, and also the Father-Son Olympics crescendo with 2 great events, the pool noodle javelin and the omelet cook-off. So it's an action-packed
Did you check for snakes?
I did not, but I looked through the hole. I couldn't find the hole. I couldn't find the hole. Did not go through.
You looked through it, though.
It didn't go through, and it's because
until I held up the tube so it was level.
It was dipping.
It's like an amazing thing for him.
Yeah,
he's like, Christopher, I can't see through the other lens, and it's like drooping down.
Your neighborhood sounds insane. Like 1 week you guys are throwing dye with your toes, then you're doing something with pool noodles, some neighbors flying drones all over the place. What's going on?
There are people cutting lawns in the background.
That's
dogs
normal.
Barking. Warren Smith drives by in his 40-year-old Chevy Suburban.
He has had that thing for 20 years.
At least.
Classic Warren.
Yeah.
Can I make a proposition for you since
Sure.
you're worried about Graceland growing up without knowing all these things? You should turn your house into like a functioning museum. Like you should just use older day technology. Like, you should have the wall phone. You should have a typewriter. Like, get rid of the computer. What do you need that for?
You know, that's a good idea.
Because then she'll know.
Well, we're in the process of trying to buy 1440 and turning it into a Greg Cote Hall of Fame.
We are?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, we are. We're looking into that. By the way, speaking of my neighbor, Shelley Quitner, who I once said was eaten alive by a shark in Australia.
Oh, yeah, what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Okay, Shelley comes up to me the other day.
She's alive.
She's alive.
Okay.
But she had heard that. She had heard me reference that.
thank God.
Like a daughter of hers or a
so
son-in-law of hers or something had heard it mentioned. And I was sort of embarrassed. I had to explain to her that a woman in Australia who looked exactly like you was eaten alive by a shark, so thank God you're alive.
You must have been so relieved to see Shelley.
I was. It's amazing.
It's like a ghost.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great. Thank God she's alive.
Yeah.
I want to see what 1440 is going for. It might, if we put the address out there, though, someone might buy it, though, and swoop in.
Yeah. No, let's not do that.
Cyber swatting.
What's the opposite of sorry for your loss? Because that's what I want to wish you.
That's true, yeah. I almost hugged her. I thought that would have been a little forward.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, she just got a new boyfriend.
Shelley
And,
did.
he's a great guy. Big fan of
I thought
mine.
she was married.
Big fan of mine. No,
You can have a boyfriend when you're married.
Her husband
Abraham
passed away.
Lincoln.
Oh, he
did a
passed
great
away?
Mike.
Several years
Not
ago,
because of a
yeah.
shark.
He was eaten by a shark?
No, he was not. No. Yeah.
I mean, it's no laughing matter.
What's the boyfriend's name?
Believe me, it was no laughing. Marvin.
Marvin.
No. Marvin is her late husband.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was eaten by a shark.
Sorry for your loss.
No, he was not.
What happened to Marv?
Natural
He
causes.
passed away.
Yeah.
You know, people
Marvin,
do
what a
that.
name.
Rest in power.
It's not any of
Thank
our
you, Roy.
business. Much like Abraham Lincoln's private relationships.
Okay.
What are you thinking the first thing to go into the Greg Cote Hall of Fame is going to be?
I mean, I was looking at my house the other day. I still have the goalie glove I used at FAU.
Oh, nice.
Of course, the aforementioned die from the 1967 Stratomatic game, which is now the color of unbrushed teeth. I've got a lot. I've still got a soapbox derby car from when I was in Cub Scouts.
Excellent.
And my dad, as a scoutmaster, wearing short pants, was
Really?
a sight to see.
Not shorts.
Well, Bill Cody, dressed like a Cub Master. The Cub Masters have to sort of modernize their look. I'm sorry. I mean, come on. You're a grown. I respect the grown men who want to be Cub Masters, but they dress like Cub
You
Scouts.
clearly have not read or watched any of the documentaries recently on the Cub Scouts.
No, I haven't. What happened?
Been a bit of a PR crisis.
Okay, well, I was a Cub back in the good
So not
days.
tying into that.
Yeah, let's just move on to other
He's
subjects.
talking about the outfits, though. Right?
Yeah. The thing that Greg Cote just did there that you guys all missed was he's a great guy. He's a big fan of mine.
It's true.
Those are the qualifications of being a
if
great
you
guy.
want Greg Cote to say that you're a good person, just tell him what a big fan of his you are,
Right.
and you'll be golden with him forever. Please tell us more about the Greg Cote Show featuring Greg Cote's Olympics father-son. We're about to end here this month-long, summer-long extravaganza.
Right. I go into the last two. You got to listen to the episode to find out. But I go into the last two events trailing 5-3.
Wow.
And needing to sweep these events to force a one-event Olympic off.
Must
next week.
wins for you, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the pool. Did I win the pool noodle? Did I win the blind taste test with the omelet cook-off with my wife as a judge? Listen to find out. But I'm telling you one thing. The Greg Cote Father-Son Olympics might not be over.
What is that? What one thing are you just
It also
saying
might be
there?
over.
It might also be over.
as
It's
well.
got
It
a
might
question
be
mark.
over
It's
as
just a
well.
bit of a tease there.
It's a bit of a
Leaving
tease.
it out
Can you
there,
give us
Dan.
any
Yeah.
information on the pool noodle javelin throw? Can any tease there?
Do we have a video of it or anything?
No,
or?
you would have asked for that beforehand if you wanted it. I don't know where you think we get video from. That stuff has to be planned in some way.
Right.
Not everyone
Yes.
here lives to your every
Right.
beck and call.
No, like if he watches the Tonight Show, the celebrity guests are always surprised as to
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
or not do
Greg
we have a
Cote's-
clip?
Right.
I had an
Exactly.
independent thought just now. Does everyone have video to support it immediately?
I hired two producers, and I guess none of them stepped up to the plate. But the pool noodle was interesting because it was a windy day in the hood, and pool noodles are very, very light. But yet we had a victory. I will say this. I will
Wait
say
a
this.
minute.
No,
A
no, no,
victory?
no, no, no.
Someone won. Somebody
Yeah.
won.
Yeah, no, hold on.
Somebody
Yeah.
won. Yeah.
So let's just say 7-6 now.
I will say this much.
Beginning to think
It was
you won.
controversy.
Really?
into who won the pool noodle.
Oh me, oh my.
Javelin.
Huh.
So what happens?
Controversy.
What happens if it ends up being a tie? Is there a tiebreaker?
This is a
Yeah.
fatal flaw in these Olympics that it's going to be 5-5 after 10 events. It's
Right.
just ridiculous.
It could be. In which case, we got to come up with a Boffo tiebreaker.
Wow. What was that?
And
When it comes to
hypothetically, if we had to, what would be some good
What did it end up being?
tiebreaker
Yeah.
competitions we could do?
Yeah,
Boffo one.
We need to come up with something. Right.
So it is a tie.
Yeah, get on that, okay, guys? As soon as you get the video, get on whatever it is this podcast has to be about. Make sure to handle that.
I have no idea how this ended.
It's got none of your names in it. It's the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody. But go ahead, go ahead and do whatever it is you got to do back there to get his podcast ready for consumption publicly. But again, the Cristobal Double Dip is not in this episode.
Yeah.
It's the next episode of the Double Dip.
So next week you get an interview that's 1 week old.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Unless
Might
there's a
do best of.
tiebreaker.
Well
Might
done.
do a
But
best of.
it also
Well done,
is
sir.
that's like
Thank you.
the UM game is next week, so the interview will come out right as
perfect.
Still risky.
Wait, did you say this next week's a best of? So it's not Cristobal.
No, it is next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ahead of the opener in Gainesville.
Right.
But just so we're clear, all the words that Cristobal spoke that were interesting, he already put in the Miami Herald.
Not all. I may have saved
He
some.
saved some, right? Saved the good stuff.
Nobody's reading
The
that.
Herald's not going to be happy, I will tell you that.
May have saved some.
May have saved the best.
You guys don't know Greg Cody's priorities. In terms of what he wants to succeed the most, it's the podcast. But he's reverse engineering this. The thing he respects the most is the paper, so all the good shit's going in there.
Most of it.
Yeah. The
Not
debris,
all.
Not all.
the debris, the remnants, after you flush the toilet and there's still stuff left
Right.
in it, that's going in the podcast.
Yeah. Well, the problem is I couldn't record all of the podcasts. So
This
only,
is a great story.
Only about half of the Zoom. I recorded the whole thing for the Herald column.
I wasn't there for this, and my dad's Zoom is not the like he
Pro?
only had like 30
Free
minutes.
trial.
Wait, let him
I
finish.
had less than that.
Let him finish. So you got all the audio. The Zoom crashed on you?
Oh,
Right,
he's
the
using a temporary Zoom. He's not. He doesn't have a full range. He doesn't have limitless Zoom. He's got a half hour, and then Cristobal's the computerized voice is saying video is done now.
I know and it shut off.
Right.
And so I called Mario.
You
and-
stuck with the audio,
and we
though.
talked.
Right,
You know,
good.
we did the
Yes.
last part of the interview by phone
Good.
because the Zoom crapped out on me. But so the Zoom only is available in the podcast next week. That kind of thing.
Zoom didn't crap out. You went cheap on Zoom.
Well, I didn't realize that, and then
Zoom did what it was supposed
It
to.
just ran out of
For
time.
30 minutes.
How
Yeah.
good was the after Zoom situation?
it was good because he had some stuff he wanted to get off his chest and
Oh.
say. So
Easier on the phone.
Good thing
right?
the
Yeah.
podcast
Better on
He's
video
the one who
call.
wanted to call me and finish the interview.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Yeah.
That kind of thing. Thank you for that, Mario, by the way. He knows I'm on his side, you know.
Well, you're a homer. Everyone knows that you're a spectacular homer. Anytime a team is above average in the market, you think they're going to win it all.
Oh, I don't think Miami's going to win it all. I do think they have a chance to play in the ACC title game, because I don't think Clemson's that good. And I think they have a chance to make the 12-team playoff. I really do.
So then why are you stopping there?
The schedule is friendly, by the way.
But why are you
Because
stopping there? Once you put them in the
Georgia
playoff.
probably,
Let's do
and
it, Brad.
Ohio State
Yeah.
Let's do it.
probably.
Let's do it.
Oregon.
I think they're that good. I don't know how Mike feels about it, the Golden Cane, but when I look at their schedule, I see an upside of 11-1. I see a downside almost of 10-2. Unless they start losing games that they should win, two of their three most difficult games are at home.
So Florida, let's just.
They're favored
Florida.
in the swamp.
They are.
WL Florida.
Yeah. Can we
Yeah.
convince you
Week
that there'll be
one.
a Final Four team, perhaps a national championship team? Can we push it that far?
I won't go that far.
I will.
All right.
Okay.
Your words mean nothing. Let's get some information from somebody who's actually informed here, because what's been going on with John Ruiz recently is interesting. And I will tell people, as Mike has gotten into the fabrics of the business here.
Thought you were going back to Greg.
No, I'm going to get to someone who's informed here as opposed to a homer and somebody who's just going to
Travis
go to
Homer.
the position of win the championship.
Someone
That's-
had to do it. I mean,
no,
Greg
it's not
talked to the
necessary.
coach, yeah.
Mike
I'm
Bryant.
abreast on John Ruiz. Don't act like I don't know who it is. I know the controversy he's in.
Well, this is the thing about John Ruiz that, Mike, please, I would like correction if I'm malinformed. But John Ruiz has been a typical cartoonishly caricature Cuban blowhard pretending that he's got more money than he has, more power than he has, and is representing as if he's running NIL because that serves him for Miami, but he's not actually. And so what's happening publicly with his company, where a lot of people are laughing at LifeWallet, what's accurate there and what's not accurate?
Well, the way that it's being reported by the Miami Herald and Sun Sentinel, like, I understand why he's a headline grabber, and a lot of this is his own fault, but it's kind of being reported through the prism of his connections to Miami, and everyone's reading an aggregated headline trying to deduce what that means for Miami. John Ruiz was with LifeWallet at the very beginning of NIL, signing contracts. I think maybe that Final Four run in basketball doesn't happen without LifeWallet's contributions there, but he hasn't been really that involved with Miami's NIL for far longer than he was. He might contribute to the collective here or there. He's not a golden cane. Like, John Ruiz is not what he himself projected himself to be. But I think if you pay attention to his socials, that's been really fewer and further between. Everyone still has this idea that he is the face of Miami's NIL and he is shaping all this stuff. It couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm not a financial expert, but I did ask other people. And while I am not personally bullish, I'm not making any predictions on LifeWallet's future or anything. That's a pretty standard disclosure that about 40% of publicly traded companies have. You have to have working capital for 12 months. Not a lot of companies have that. So even that is overblown. I think it's a big nothing burger, and I was kind of, well, I'm confused as to why, because if you actually do the journalism on it, and Miami's not incentivized to come out and hold a press conference and say, like, you don't want to dissuade someone that was good to your program and continues to donate. So that's why you still have this thing running out there. But it's just not fact. It's fantasy.
Let me ask Greg and Stugotz this, because the entire world has changed under their feet. They grew up in a time of sis boom ba Notre Dame. We're going to pretend it's all amateurism. When the conversation is Cristobal year 3, yep, you better have bought all the good players. And the conversation is Miami made a Final Four run in basketball when John Ruiz and had that LifeWallet, and it was at the ready. I've never had any issue with all of this being out in the light. Show everybody, yeah, it's just the purchase of players. Now it's just out in the open. I'm surprised that you two don't have an objection holding on to previous times the way that you do, to see college football and college basketball this brazen about the commerce, all of it in your face, where it's like, if Miami spends, they will have a top 12 program in basketball and football, and if they don't, they will not.
I mean, I like it because I've always felt like the kids bring more value than the colleges were kind of giving off and the NCAA. So I'm good with the kids being able to make money, to monetize their name, image, and likeness, and, you know, really to be able to leave if the coach leaves. So, and if they don't have an opportunity. Like, you go in as a freshman and as a quarterback, and you're a top 10 quarterback, freshman year doesn't work out, they bring in 2 more quarterbacks, and you feel threatened, your job feels threatened, you can now go to a different school. It's like Syracuse has the Ohio State quarterback from last year. Syracuse never gets that quarterback.
But it's more.
They do now because they have the money.
It's more professional football.
I love it.
Indisputably.
Yes.
Yeah, but there are some things that aren't so professional. Darren Heitner went to social media. He is one of those guys that was there at the forefront of NIL and NIL reporting, and says there are a lot of collectives that are coming up short and not honoring deals. I think across the board there needs to be more transparency here for the kids and for the collectives themselves, because there are, in both directions, people breaking deals left and right. Thankfully, Miami has honored every single one of those LifeWallet deals with its collective. If the reporting is to be true around John Ruiz, you could see how he could struggle with some of those longer-term ones. Miami's collective slid in there, made sure that none of that reporting would come to light, because you can't say that about Miami. They've honored their NIL deals.
I don't celebrate the death of amateurism, but I'm resigned to it, because it's not just colleges, it's the Olympics and just about everything else. The problem is the inequity of it, okay? The star quarterback, he's getting his. How about the backup guard? Is he getting anything? You know, or is the swimmer, the average swimmer on the team, is she making money on NIL? I don't know how that works.
More money is what you want. More money for more.
I'm
He
just
wants
saying,
fairness, that's all.
If you're going to pay pay college athletes. It shouldn't just be football and the basketball
but
star.
it's not fairness. They're still crowdfunding
No,
all of
that's
this money. This is not college football using its television dollars on the players.
You were asking what Greg wants, and I was just telling you what Greg wanted.
Right.
That's
Well,
fairness.
what Greg wants is what the NCAA wants too, but it also caps people to really maximize their own value.
It's a golden cane.
We're on air. I don't know why it is that you don't hear when they're counting down or have your headset on and everyone's trying to keep you alert. He's done because he promoted his podcast. It's all he cares
And
about.
his book.
It's the only reason he's here.
Yeah.
And this is where we start to lose Greg Cody. He loses stamina right about now. So,
Stamina.
Still trying to figure out who won that cliffhanger.
I got the stamina of a 20-year-old.
No, you don't.
Show me a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
a 20-year-old Ottoman.
I'll out-stamina him. Stamina him.
There you go.
He's right.
Yeah.
What signifies stamina? Is that a foot race? Is that a strength thing? You know, how do we associate that?
Noah
I've
Lyles
got good stamina.
is a professional troll, correct?
Yeah. He's picking a fight. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for a social media fight. And succeeding in getting one. You know? I mean, why would Noah Lyles, a gold medal winner, care what Tyreek Hill is saying? You know, it's ridiculous.
That's not even the one I was mentioning. Okay, so he goes on with Shannon Sharp and renders all his NBA opinions totally irrelevant when he tells Shannon Sharp, Jokic, never heard of him. So when he says not a world champion of the NBA's team, and I understand this, it's a silly argument. We can argue whether America's champion deserves to be champion of the world without having beaten the world. But Noah Lyles said of the NBA, they're not world champions, but he doesn't know the players. So he's just doing that to bother people. Now he tells Tyreek Hill, you really want to race? Let's go. I'm at a track near you. And what is Tyreek's answer? 50 yards. Not the thing that you're best in the world at, 50 yards. I want to change the distance because I don't want to do it the same thing that you're the world champion
The
at.
thing where I have a chance to beat you, I think.
And Josh Hart is saying on his podcast with Jalen Brunson, he was saying, I really wanted him to lose in the Olympics. Were there a lot of Americans doing that? Because the sprinter, Stugotz, is sort of the caricature cartoon of the wide receiver diva.
Right.
Whatever it is that Tyreek Hill is as a personality, Noah Lyles is that because fastest man in the world tends to imbue you with a certain arrogance and peacocking that the average person doesn't walk around their daily life with.
The world's fastest man should be able to outrun Tyreek Hill for 50 yards. He should accept that challenge. And if he doesn't, it means he's running from Tyreek Hill.
He says the man dodges smoke. That's what he says of Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill never actually does any of these races.
Well, I fear the Dolphins. You probably don't want him to.
Of course
Not now.
Yeah, don't want you to pop a muscle racing Noah Lyles.
Well, but
It's a
DK
non-football
Metcalf also says he's faster than Tyreek Hill, and we're never going to see them race. And Jalen Waddle says he's faster than Tyreek Hill, and we're never going to see them race.
The only way to do this is really with player tracking when they run a 9 route.
They raced at the Pro Bowl, I think, this past year, the year before.
And who won?
I'll get back to you.
It is alleged that the Dolphins have a white cornerback who's faster than any of them. What is his name? Bronner?
Ethan Bonner.
That does sound white.
That can't possibly be true that Ethan Bonner is faster than both Tyreek Hill and Noah
Hill
Lyles.
has said it. Waddle has said it. Mostert has said it. They all say he's the fastest on the team. I mean,
Is there a black Ethan?
Oh, no, man.
there has to be.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Is there a black Ethan?
Wait, let's Google it before we poll it. I feel like the internet can just see if you can find
a black
There's got to be.
famous Ethan.
All right, so the race was Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb, Micah Parsons, and Trayvon Diggs.
We're showing the video audience Ethan Bonner right now. That's him.
Yeah, but that is not the people.
He is white.
Those
That
are
is a
not
white
any of
guy.
the people. So Tyreek won that race, correct?
There's an Ethan Black. I believe he's white, though.
So black is white?
There is. I found the same guy. Ethan Black. He looks like some sort of track athlete.
Ethan Black.
He's white, though.
He's white.
Okay, so you're telling me black is white, just to be clear.
Yeah, because he's Ethan.
There's a guy with an IMDb who seems to be black whose name is Ethan Hazard.
He does seem to be black.
But black is white?
No, this
Black is
Ethan.
white.
Black
Yeah.
is white.
Hazard is black.
Yeah.
And the fastest guy in track is white?
Ethan Black runs track. He's white.
The fastest guy in track is black.
He's white.
No.
No.
Noah Lyles. Black.
But this guy is better. This guy, this white black guy is better.
No, he didn't
It's
say he was
black,
better.
white guy?
No, he was just saying he exists.
Yeah.
Oh, he just exists.
Yeah,
His
that
last
he
name is
exists.
just
yeah,
Black,
it wasn't
yes,
ever
right.
presented through the prism of this guy's better than
Okay.
Noah Lyles. I think
Right.
it wouldn't be the first time
No
you
one
heard the
said
name Ethan Black, who is white.
Who's on first?
Ethan Black, a wide receiver for Penn State, also. Same Ethan Black, the white guy who ran track.
Yeah, it's the same dude.
Same guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dipping.
Yeah.
Why does Tyreek Hill think that he would be faster than Noah Lyles?
Well, he's pretty fast. For
I know,
one.
I know.
At 50 yards, though, Dan.
I
It
know.
looks like Micah Parsons won this race. But Tyreek seems to have done that thing where he got off to a bad start and then he didn't try.
Yeah, I don't
That's why
think
he
there is a
lost.
world in which Micah Parsons is faster
Well, in this world, look
than
at this
Tyreek
race.
Hill,
No way.
unless the race is 2.5 yards.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! Look at this! Fastest man, Mike. Check this out. For those of you who are listening on the podcast, Mike's looking at my laptop.
I am looking at the laptop. Oh, Tyreek's not. Oh, he just let up. He let up.
Is anyone here willing to co-sign what Josh Hart said, which is, I really wanted him to lose of Noah Lyles? Anyone in here willing to co-sign that? Were any of you so put off
All
by...
NBA fans that were passionate NBA fans, like Amin gave voice to this in his shows with us, they seem to be in lockstep because of how Noah Lyles started this whole feud by diminishing the achievements of an NBA world champion. Yeah, and Noah Lyles has gone on the record and saying, I don't know who Jokic is. So NBA fans were really reveling in his embarrassment.
Well, let's enjoy some preseason football here, Stugotz, because I know Caleb Williams didn't complete all of his passes. I'm not even sure he completed half of his passes, but he had a couple of the plays that got people excited because Chicago really is here after their best quarterback ever is either Jay Cutler or Sid Luckman. They are all in on the idea that they have their quarterback for the next 5 years. They've got value at quarterback. They've got someone they think can play right away, who's on a rookie deal, and therefore they've got him a lot of skill position help, and they somehow are built to win right now. The Chicago Bears are. Let's look at a couple of these plays involving Caleb Williams, Stugotz, and him moving around in the pocket and the arm strength.
Wow.
And
a flick. I love a flick. Yeah.
That's a good flick right there.
I was loving that play so much, and then I saw on Twitter that Bryce Young last year for the Panthers
Regular
did
season.
the exact same play, and I'm like, guess it doesn't mean that much.
It doesn't mean much of anything at all. I saw John Kitna one time go 11 for 11 in a preseason game and thought that team was going to make the playoffs, and they went 0-16.
They had some injuries.
They had a lot of injuries. Orlovsky ran through the back of the end zone for that team. Here's another Caleb Williams play, Stugotz. Well, he's clearly got the pocket presence there. That's something that's not up for dispute. And so he's moving around in the pocket the way you would want him to, and then he just sort of runs into the end zone.
That is stuff he was doing at USC to see it translate to the NFL, to the professional level.
To the preseason.
Did you see,
I know.
Did you see Mahomes actually pulled off a behind-the-back pass in the game?
Enough. I mean, seriously, we're making a big deal. It was an 8-yard gain.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do it in a
please.
real game.
Right. Do it in the Super Bowl, big spot.
You can do that when you're Patrick Mahomes. You've won 3 Super Bowls. You can just do that in a nonsense game, right? You just play around. It's the preseason.
In watching some of the preseason, my main takeaway, just looking at Caleb Williams and just trying to analyze whether or not Tua got new teeth. When do they stop this thing? It is awful. Preseason football is terrible. And I used to be like an advocate for preseason football because as like a Browns fan, I really like the opportunity to evaluate my guys because this was my only access to evaluate them. They do these scrimmages, televise those. This is dumb. Are they still charging their season ticket holders full price for this stuff?
Yes.
It's a bad TV product. What is the appeal for this stuff?
You just said it, though. They're still charging full price. It's just an easy oil well that springs up because we're suckers and we're desperate in August for anything.
Can you win an ESPY in a preseason game? Like play of the year? It would just be funny if like the play of the year happened in a preseason game.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Can you win an ESPY for something that happened in a preseason
3
game?
yards. Everyone can throw a ball behind their back 3
but
yards.
we'd never seen it before though. Like I hear you,
Showboat.
but we've never seen a quarterback do that I know it's preseason. We've never seen a quarterback do that while another team is trying to kill him.
This space that he occupies is unusual, Stugotz, because I've told you before, he comes up through the era. Saw a great documentary I enjoyed last night. It was executive produced by Monica Lewinsky about 15 minutes of shame, just the shaming of people in a moment, how it lacks some nuance, and what the social media generation has wrought. I didn't realize that Lewinsky was sort of ground zero for some of that stuff. He's coming up through an age where the easiest things are to be cruel, anonymously cruel, and everything out there exists to make jokes at the expense of. Largely, the internet is not a place that celebrates. The language around Patrick Mahomes, because I've told you, Stugotz, the way coverage is these days, it's blame, criticism, blame, criticism. That's who's getting paid, who's on television blaming and criticizing. So Tom Brady comes up through this time in social media and will not be allowed to be as great as Michael Jordan because he existed before this time where we had this kind of access. The way that we talk about Mahomes, the breathless way that we talk about him, is objected to at every turn because of how breathless it is, even though what we're watching doesn't really have a precedent, because I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly in my lifetime where I'd stop having the argument about whether I think Aaron Rodgers is more physically gifted than Tom Brady, and someone comes in here and I'm like, oh, yep, better than both of them. Better than both of them, even if you take away his number one wide receiver and the offense looks totally impotent, he's going to win a Super Bowl. Essentially, it's going to feel like on an offense that he's on by himself.
You might be right. He may be better than both of them, but it is funny that Brady's the only one that beat him in a Super Bowl. I mean, at an advanced age. The only guy to take Mahomes down.
But the way that we talk about him for the next few years is going to be interesting because people object to when it is you're too breathless about people. It's one of the reasons LeBron's not going to be allowed to be Michael, Stugotz. We've been 15 years breathing on him yeah, you're great, but are you as great as the greatest who've ever been great? Are you that great? And Mahomes, I think we'd all be willing to concede because of the start. No one gets to start that way. No one comes out of the box and just starts winning right away when you're still watching and you're like, is he even in his prime yet? Like, have we arrived at the Patrick Mahomes prime?
I mean, Brady did it. He did win. He won early.
Yeah, but Stugotz,
some people don't give Brady credit for winning that Super Bowl.
He threw one touchdown pass that entire postseason run. He's not the reason they won that first Super Bowl.
No, I understand that, but you're saying not many people do that. I'm just pointing out that Brady actually did it. Now, you could say it was more to do with the team than it was with
I'm
Tom
talking
Brady.
about the number.
Right.
I'm talking about everyone gave that one to Belichick because it was the greatest upset in the history of the Super Bowl. The Patriots beat the Rams, and nobody thought it was because of Brady.
I will say this, though, with Mahomes, he does have a chance to do something by winning 3 straight Super Bowls that no one has ever done.
Right.
Including Tom Brady. And that's going to be interesting to see what the conversation is if Patrick Mahomes is able to do that. Win 3 consecutive Super Bowls.
This is what I'm asking both of you, okay? We're going to play this Tua interview for you at the end of the show today. And we've been talking for a couple of weeks. Well, that's an architectural problem. The Miami Dolphins, when they had the cheaper quarterback than Mahomes, couldn't win in that window. against Mahomes. Now, their quarterback is more expensive than Mahomes. And Mahomes, I'm asking the group, have we arrived at his prime yet? Yes or no?
I would. He's tough because most quarterbacks you would say that about, and then you have the outlier of Tom Brady, and so when we see somebody all-time great, the mind already goes like, oh, well, Tom Brady did it, and he beat you in a Super Bowl when he was that age, so we just anticipate you being that way. Who's to say Mahomes takes care of his body the same way? It's difficult, but at any point in history outside of Tom Brady, this would be considered his prime.
He's 28. Has the prime shifted? Because prime used to be like 27 to 32, and now I feel like with quarterbacks it could be 32 to 37.
Right. I can't imagine he can be much better than he was in the postseason last year, winning the Super Bowl with that receiver help.
He's definitely in his prime. And in football, when you win Super Bowls, you automatically get called great. Terry Bradshaw had a pretty ordinary career if you look at his numbers.
Won 4.
And he won 4, and that's why he's in the Hall of Fame, and that's why we still think of him as great, even though he wasn't that great. Look at his numbers. Mahomes, 2 in a row, and now going for 3 in a row, that's immortal stuff.
I want to stop you, though, when you say, and you just say, well, he's 28, that must be his prime. Are you arguing he's done improving?
I think he can be this good for another 5 years.
Are you arguing that he's done improving? Because the argument I was going to make about Tua and that offense is now you've been in the Andy Reid system with consistency forever. Your tight end can't hold up that way anymore. Your tight end is no longer in his prime, even though the results, the numbers suggest that he's still in his prime because he's had these 4 crazy years that put you in the Gronk classification when no one belongs in the Gronk classification.
Didn't he set a postseason record for receiving yards at that position?
I think he did.
I think Mahomes is only getting smarter, and I don't think his physical traits have worn at the age of 28 either. So I imagine, coming just hours removed from him attempting and successfully attempting a behind-the-back pass in an NFL game, which was the right play, by the way. For that to be completion, it was the only way he was going to do it. I don't think he's done improving.
A smarter player is a great way of phrasing it, Mike, because if there's a criticism of Mahomes' game, it's the turnovers. He had 14 interceptions last year. So smarter.
But that's just his offense.
Yeah, but
the offense was so much more limited.
But I expect those to go down as he gets older. I do.
2 seasons ago, as that offense was adjusting to life without Tyreek Hill, teams were daring him to go deep, and they realized that this dude is a prideful quarterback. He is not going to go underneath if we keep giving him that. He corrected it in the season, and then you could see some moments in the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati where he reverted to some of the poor traits that he had throughout that season. I do think he's getting smarter.
The physical part of it, because the feet problem is something that I would keep an eye on. I think the style of play that he plays is a little more physical than the average quarterback. He is a little more gunslinger or reckless than just about anybody in the league, with a confidence that doesn't wane.
And I want to be fair to him, too. Like, I'm saying this as someone that's wearing nipple stickers, Dan. Like, he's not taking care of his body in ways, like, he does get body shamed. Like, he's not taking care of his body yet in ways that stick out.
But this is the reason that I'm objecting to any of you putting limits on what is his prime. I expect his next 8 years to be better than his first 8 years.
I mean, he's only played 6 full seasons in the NFL. He's won 3 Super Bowls.
I expect his next 6 years to be better than his last 6 years. And the only thing that gets in the way is his body. Well, I shouldn't say the only thing.
He's not going to have a weapon like Kelsey.
The construction
forever, right?
around him also matters.
I don't think it matters, though.
It does matter having
Kelsey
the greatest
matters.
tight end
Kelsey
ever.
Matters.
Andy Reid matters.
Andy Reid might matter. They lost Tariq Hill. He's fine.
Well, but they weren't fine. Stugotz, do I need to remind you the things you were saying before last postseason? Because
there's something off in Kansas City.
Every round of the postseason, you doubted that team.
That was 2 years ago.
It was last year.
We did all say those things, but
every year.
They have won back-to-back Super Bowls during us saying all those things.
How do none of your words matter?
I don't know. I mean,
How do you not remember any of the things that you've previously said in any of the places that you've said them?
Statistically, he did have a down year last year.
He
He
did.
won the Super Bowl. but
I said
I
one
wouldn't
thing
come off of
yesterday.
last year and say
Yeah.
I guarantee his next 6 will be better based off of last year.
I'm hour to hour, Dan. You got to keep up. I mean,
All right, Chris, get for me some of Stugotz's more famous takes because we have both of them there. We have last year's Kansas City stuff, and we have what is one of the greatest takes in the history of this show when he chastised Andy Reid for benching Alex Smith in favor of the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, who's won 3 Super Bowls, as we argue whether his next 6 years are going to be better than his last 6 years. So should we do something we've never done in show history? Should Stugotz be forbidden from talking about the Kansas City Chiefs? That you can't. There have to be some.
I'm agreeing with you in this case.
There have to be some consequences to you being so spectacularly wrong that it renders all your future Chiefs opinions invalid.
the consequences are you get to play it back in my face forever. I mean,
But you've got to remember that you've had these takes before because you're sitting here saying no one's going to beat him when you spend every playoff round last year saying he was going to be beaten. You looked at one of the cameras, you waved your sausage fingers at it, and you said, I want the smoke. I'm here to be the first to tell you that Kansas City is not to be feared this postseason. And they were holding up the trophy again. This while you sit across from this homer who thinks he's still right, saying that the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl last year even though they haven't won a playoff game in 2 years.
You just said a take that I would dispute. For you to say that you think Mahomes' next 6 or 8 years are going to be better than his first 6, I think is almost ludicrous.
has to win 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
I'm not doing it by Super Bowls.
Well, we
I'm just
are.
doing
I
how
mean,
much is he improving as a quarterback. I'm
But
doing
what are you
bad
doing
way
it
of doing
based
it.
on?
I
The
mean,
rest of the world is doing it by Super
Aaron
Bowls.
Rodgers
right.
won 1 Super Bowl, and I was arguing that he was more physically gifted than Tom Brady. I was arguing Aaron Rodgers is the best I've ever seen play the position.
But last year he had fewer yards, fewer touchdowns, more interceptions, and a lower QBR than he's ever had. So I don't know what based on last year would say that his next 6 are going to be better.
And by the way, Aaron Rodgers is going to be viewed as a career underachiever
No doubt.
and overrated because he's only won
All right,
one
but Super Bowls aren't the only measure. I just want to
They're
get you
only
on
the bottom line,
I want
the
to
most
get this
important.
record from you, Billy, please. I want to get this on the record. You're just officially saying, because you haven't taken a position, Mahomes passed his prime.
No, I did not say that. I'm just saying based on last year, I don't know how you could say his next 6 years would be better. And then they said, well, you're going to base it on Super Bowls. You said no, but based on the stats. We're just trying to figure out what you're basing this take on.
28 to 34, what a quarterback becomes ages 28 to 34 in the history of the league. Every quarterback who's ever played the position before they die out in their late 30s. That's what I'm basing it on, except for Tom Brady.
Yes.
Except for Tom Brady. Where and how quarterbacks age, this is the prime. 28 to 34 is the prime. It's not 20 to 26. Like, it's just not.
I mean, but other quarterbacks also don't have the weapons that he had to start his career, right? Like, you then the quarterback starts figuring it out, and then you build a team around him where he had the superstar team right at the beginning.
Caleb has it right now. I mean,
You can say matter-of-factly, there hasn't been another wide receiver in the history of the game like Tyreek Hill, and you can say almost matter-of-factly, maybe Gronk in his prime, he was probably a better blocker than Kelsey, but there hasn't been another weapon at tight end like Travis Kelsey. So he's had like 2 all-time unicorns at their position. I think it's safe to assume that that's not the most easy thing to replicate.
Well, I mean, just because of like how the salary cap and stuff works too, you could probably make the argument he's never going to play on a better team than he's already been on.
That's a good argument. And he's also got a great coach who's not going to be around forever, maybe another couple of years.
It's not to say that he's not going to be good. He's just going to have different pieces to work with in a coach and teammates.
It's the only hope you have as a league is to articulate what it is that Billy is saying, that he's going to get hurt somewhere along the path, and he's going to be not the obstacle to everyone in the sport the same way that Brady and the Patriots were.
and that someone challenges him, like C.J. Stroud, somebody.
C.J. Stroud's an interesting one. It's just we haven't really encountered a dynasty like this, and there are some things working against them, like with the Taylor Swift overexposure thing, but typically we get tired and they're villains by now. Kansas City hasn't become a villainous dynasty that everyone hates yet. I mean, I'm sure they have the rival.
They tried to make themselves villains at the last Super Bowl, and it just wasn't really sticking. Like, they wanted to be the bad guys, and like at media night, they were acting as though they were villains, and like they weren't really, because everybody was rooting for them. And they had probably a bigger fan base than the 49ers did, in part because of Taylor Swift. But, like, they're not villains yet. If they become villains because they keep winning, I don't think that's bad for football. I think it's good for football, because then you always have that one thing that you're looking at, like, are these going to be the people that take down the Chiefs? The same way everyone was rooting against the Patriots.
I'm not arguing it's going to be bad. I'm just arguing, like, it's usually happened by now, and people generally like this dynasty more than other ones that prevent your teams from winning.
They're likable, though.
I think dynasties are good for sports. I also think the end of dynasties are good for sports. The Premier League just started. Man City being favored for a 5th straight championship, I don't think is necessarily good. I think if Arsenal wins, it's better for that league. I think if somebody challenges and dethrones the Chiefs, that's better for that league. I just think it's a win-win for sports. You love the dynasty, the super team, and you love it when the new era starts.
The Kelsey point is not an irrelevant one, though, because it is a cheat code. It is something that they've had to extend to drives on third down that is automatic, even if it's 11 seconds left against Buffalo or 13 seconds left against Buffalo. It's always open. And if you look back at what Brady's number were without Gronk, you will see a difference than as what they were with Gronk. And basically what Mahomes had is he had Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, which is what Brady had when he had Randy Moss and the proliferation of those tight ends.
We're doing it the wrong way. What those guys got was Patrick Mahomes. That's what happened. They got Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid was a career loser, couldn't win the big game. Travis Kelce didn't win anything.
Not a career loser.
They didn't win anything until Mahomes got there.
Travis Kelce was arguably the best tight end in the league when Patrick Mahomes wasn't his quarterback, and Tyreek Hill just got named the best player in the NFL by his peers.
I know.
Not playing now for quite a while without Patrick Mahomes.
I know.
Those are unique, special talents.
But we're saying how lucky Patrick was to land in that spot, and he was. But they were also lucky to get Patrick. That's all I'm saying.
All of your opinions are invalid because of this previous take. Stugotz forever forbidden from any more Chiefs takes because this is the worst one ever given.
Go ahead, Andy Reid. I dare you to go 14-2 and allow Alex Smith to leave Arrowhead Stadium, to leave Kansas City. Go ahead, I dare you. Because of Patrick Mahomes. Because you think you could turn Patrick Mahomes into something that Alex Smith is not. Alex Smith is a very good quarterback. The audacity, first off, to do this to Alex Smith, who's been very good and loyal to Andy Reid and won him a lot of football games, to dangle Patrick Mahomes out there because Andy Reid thinks he's some sort of quarterback whisperer, which he is not.